welcome to practice. We're going to begin laying down, and I've got a blanket. I fold it a long, narrow shape to go under the tailbone. Laying down and just putting the blanket so it just tips the tailbone up a little away from the floor. Soles of the feet together, knees out wide. I like a little bit more support under the femur bones, the thigh bones. I just hold the edges, the ends of the blanket under a little bit more. That might feel nice for you too. Supta Baddha Konasana, lying back, bound angle posture. Very nice way to start a yoga practice. To bring yourself into the yoga zone. And notice what your breath is doing. Making any changes that make sense, like making sure you're breathing through your nose. Letting the breath be deeper, a little longer, if you like the feeling of tuning into that bigger movement of the breath in the body. Appreciating the flow of your breath. Good, and then gently bringing in your arms and legs. Take the blanket out and press your lower back into the floor, but bring your feet off the floor. We're going to bring the arms up. Now, arms and legs are going to stay a little bit bent, and we're going to playfully roll around a little bit, like you're a kitten playing with the end of a string, and keep your lower back on the floor. So you'll notice the more you move, the more the core is switching on. And this movement of the arms and the legs is making all those little connections to the core body. So move right around your center, but keep your back pressing on the floor. Nice work. And then hug your knees into your chest. And breathing. Feeling the spine relaxing now, letting tension out of your body. Good. And then we're going to do that one more time. Press your lower back into the floor. So be as vigorous as your body needs. You can do this in a very gentle way. We can take bigger movements, but keep the skin on the floor, skin of your back. Oh, you could try crossing a little bit your limbs. Oh. Nice work. And then hug your knees into your chest, letting your back relax. If you rock a little bit from side to side, you'll have that lengthens the spine. Beautiful. Think about rolling up. You might be able to cross your feet at your ankles, or you might need to roll to your right side and help yourself up with your hand. And we're going to be in forward virasana. So kneeling towards the back of your mat and reaching your arms out. And here to start to wriggle your body. So the legs are fairly anchored in the pelvis, but wriggle around the spine, the shoulders and the arms, even the hands up onto the fingers. Checking that the neck feels free and easy to move. A little bit of wriggling and feeling the flow of breath. Good. And then having an intention of stillness now, feeling balanced. And following the flow of your breath. Stretch your fingers out wide and press your fingerprints into the floor. And we're going to come up into downward facing dog pose. Bend both the knees and lift the heels. And open the shoulders a little bit more. So the chest towards the front of the leg. And nod your head. Make sure your neck is just really relaxed here. Feel the flow of your breath. And we're going to start to straighten one leg at a time. So you're pressing one heel down to the floor and then the other. Good. Coming back to that centered position with an intention of stillness now. Feeling the breath elongate the legs, the torso, the spine. Good. And then resting into child's pose, knees to the floor and hands beside you. Just letting the hands relax. Feeling the flow of breath. Good. And then take your arms forward again, forward virasana, Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. Really opening the chest, letting the neck be relaxed. And this time we're going to pick up the left foot and step across to the mat on the outside of the mat on the right side. So the left leg goes behind the right leg. And then back into your downward facing dog pose. And then step the right foot across to the outside of the left side of the mat. The left leg goes behind the right leg. Back to downward facing dog pose. And we're going to keep going from side to side. Notice if the energy or the movement that we're demanding in the lower body is bringing tension into the neck. So keep the neck really relaxed. Have that intention to keep the armpits long and the chest broad. One more cycle. So foot to both sides, each foot to each side. Nice work. And then come back to center, finding stillness in the posture. Feel the flow of the breath in the posture. And then child's pose. Arms forward, forward virasana. Nice. We're going to put the elbows on the floor. So lift up and bring the knees about hip width. Good. And then tuck the toes under and lift the knees away from the floor. And we're going to open the chest towards the front of the leg. And looking forward, feel the space between the shoulder blades. That spine really reaches into the front of the torso as you look forward. Breathing deeply. Good. And then take child's pose again, resting your arms, resting your shoulders and your hands. Take your arms forward, forward virasana, downward facing dog pose. Step your left knee forward to your right wrist and then back into downward facing dog pose. Make sure your fingers are wide, press your fingerprint. Step your right knee forward to your left wrist and then back into downward facing dog pose. And we're going to keep going from side to side. Left knee, right wrist. Right knee, left wrist. Stretch the hips all the way back in between. Keep the neck relaxed. Feel the flow of your breath, that energetic flow of the body. And then child's pose. Inhaling and coming up. Now we're going to kneel up. Take a blanket so that you can put that under your knees when you're kneeling up. So that shouldn't hurt. And tuck your toes under. Now for a toe stretch, you can put your hands down on the floor in front of you. So you determine how much weight or how close you can bring your hips to your heels. And some people might be able to sit reasonably comfortably with the hips onto the heels. I'm using my hand to try and make sure my little toe and the next little toe are tucked forward. Good. And then we're going to flatten the tops of the feet to the floor, release the toes. And again, for kneeling. So it depends on your knees here. You can keep your hands on the floor in front of you and then just determine what kind of angle you can get to with your kneeling. Or you might be able to kneel all the way back. When you're kneeling, try to keep your thigh bones parallel to each other. So the knees are only hip width distance. Even feel that your feet are parallel to each other, not the toes turned in. Good. And then we're going to repeat our toe stretch. So tuck all of the toes under. Use your hand if necessary to get the little toes tucked under. Good. And determine where you can bring the weight. So hands on the floor to help with that. And if possible, you can try your sitting up over the feet. It's a pretty intense stretch. I can't hear the toes popping from me. Nice work. Now, put your hands back on the floor and just feel it in your body. It might be possible for you to roll back over your feet into a squat position. Try to get your heels onto the floor as close as you can, and then back into your kneeling position. Okay, so if you're having trouble with that, just imagine that movement. One more. Nice. And we're going to come up to standing. So if you can roll back into the squat, press into your heels and lift up. And you don't need your blanket. Beautiful. We're going to stand side on to the mat. Sorry, I have to keep tucking. I've got different clothes, t-shirts on today, and they're not staying where they should. Feet under the hips. Bring the hands in front of the heart or the shoulder blade now. And you can jump, little jump. Feet out wider than your leg is long. Turn the toes out. Okay, bending one leg, straightening the other. Feel the flow of your breath. Let your movement follow that flow. Now, for some, especially if you're vulnerable in your knees, you stay around this level of working and you really concentrate on strong quadriceps. Now, others can go deeper. Maybe you've still got your hands up on your thighs, or even hands on the floor and hips towards your heel, side to side. So when I squat down, I bring the straight leg up into its heel. And you can even try this without your hands on the floor. It's tricky to balance. You have to do a combination. Good. And then we're going to come back up to center. Hard work. Knees bent. So dropping the hips, but really lifting the internal muscular support of the body. Hands at the heart. Lift up onto the balls of the feet. Nice. And then straightening your legs. Release your heels. Good work. Toes turned in this time. We're going to make a back bend by binding the arms behind. So stretch the arms out behind you and hold your wrists or elbows or upper arms. Prayer position if that works for you. See what happens with the spine when you bind your arms. Spine is moving forward, so we have a back bend, even though we're going to forward bend now. Lift your kneecaps. Sit bones. Let your head just hang down. And from here, a little bit of bending one knee, straightening the other leg, from side to side. Just as deeply as feels good. Coming back to center with an intention of stillness now. Sorry, so you're still bending forward. Upavista Konasana. Good, and then we're going to bring the breastbone forward, look forward. And scooping all the way up. Release your arm. Nice work. Take your arms out at shoulder height, palms up, and jump your feet back to hip width. Making little circles, palms up and back. Your feet are parallel, your legs are parallel. Lift the front of the leg. Little circles, relaxing your neck. Engaging between the shoulder blades. We're going to turn or take the heels a little bit wider than your hips, turn your toes out. Bring the hands in front of the heart. Squat to where your knees can squat, but don't lift the heels off the floor. So don't go further than the heels stay on the floor. So find that position and then lift up a little bit from there. Try to lift your torso and lift the internal muscular support, pressing the heels. Good. Press the heels, squeeze the buttock muscles, and lift up. Nice work. And again, finding your squat without the heels lifting up. Go as low as your knees allow, the heels allow. Try to lift the torso. Lift the internal muscular support. Press into the heels. Squeeze the gluteus muscles. And coming up. Nice work. Release. Standing with the feet under. Okay. We're going to bring the hands in front of the heart. Step the feet out about your own leg length. And we'll turn the right foot at 90 degrees and the left foot in about 30 degrees. The main thing we're looking for is the right heel lines up with the center of the left foot in the arch. We're trying to find our balance there. Bring the front of the torso, the hips, to face the long edge of your mat, the breastbone, and then reach your arms out from your shoulders. And we want to really reach the arms, but keep the shoulders down. Don't have the shoulders swishing up into the neck base. Beautiful. And for Trikonasana, feel your legs are strong. Really use your quadricep muscle. So lift the thigh muscle and then start to reach with your right arm. So we reach and reach. So the right ribs are reaching, the left ribs are reaching, and then take your arms to a vertical. Your right hand down onto your right leg, lift them up. And use your left arm here, and we're going to reach back and turn the ribs, turn the left hip back, open the heart towards the ceiling. And then reach the right ribs a little bit further along the right leg. Feel the flow of the breath. Reaching through the arms, reaching through the legs, reaching through the Nice work. Feel your feet, your legs as you lift up. Core of the body. Beautiful. And turn the feet to the second side. Strong, straight leg. And we're going to start to reach the left arm as far as we can to the left. The left ribs are reaching. The right ribs are reaching. And then take your arms to the vertical. Use your right hand and reach back and see if you can roll back the right ribs, the right hip, looking up towards the sky or the ceiling, and then feeling the flow of breath in your body through that reach of the arms, the reach of the legs, the reach of the spine. And from the flow of breath, feel the core of the body, the stability of your leg, and lifting up. Bring the hands in front of your heart. Turn your feet to the front. We're going to jump back to feet hip width. And then take your squat position. So heels a little bit wider than your hips, gives you a bit more room to move. Toes turned out, easier on the knees, but don't go further than your knees are comfortable with. And keep your heels on the floor. Lifting the pelvic floor. Oh, lifting the torso. Nice work. Now put your hands down onto the floor and help yourself to sit down. That last little bit of falling, and sit up onto your blanket. Bring that feet back into that position you were just in your squat. A higher blanket or blocks even under your bottom would make this easier. But I'm going to give it a little go from here. All right, so turn your toes out a little bit and heels in as close to your body as you can. So especially if you are vulnerable in your knees, you can practice this squat position, but you don't put much pressure on your knees. Just where you can, and press your heels down and lift your torso and feel the internal muscular support. So squeeze the pelvic floor and lift from the inside of that bowl of the pelvis, lifting, lengthening the spine. Beautiful. Pressing your heels so you get a good go at the squat without having to balance or go with restriction of your foot flexibility. Giving it a good try here. Nice work. And if you feel like maybe you could tip into a squat, so you could help yourself with your hands, for example, and then tipping forward. And then you can sit back down again. Maybe you can do that without your hands. I can't do that this morning. I have to use my hands. Okay, that's enough of that. We'll bring the legs into a comfortable seated position. Actually, let's do a wide leg, a split position. So sitting up on your blanket is useful, giving yourself a little bit of height under your sit bone so we can tip the pelvis forward. Take your knees as wide apart as they'll go, and of course the feet follow. But think about getting that stretch on the inside of the thigh. Nice. We're going to bend in the left leg and place your right hand on the inside of your right leg. We're going to turn the torso to the left side. Stretch out your left arm and then stretch it behind you. You're going to reach your left arm as far behind your torso as you can, as though you could take hold of your right hip or the clothing near there, or even your right thigh, so that we're turning the torso. Make sure your knee feels okay in your right leg. So some people, it's painful to press the leg down to the floor, but a little bit of a pillow or clothing, even something handy under that knee, you might find you can still be very active, but not hurting the knee. All right, otherwise we're pressing down. Now we're going to start to reach the right rib along the right leg, and that means the right hand's going to start to travel in the direction of the foot. But don't be too concerned about how far you travel that hand. Think and feel more the movement of the torso, heart shining upward. So hold your leg or hold your foot wherever you reach to. And we're going to release the left arm, the one behind you, and take it by your left ear. And reaching. And we'll keep the sides of the neck long. And really reaching the left kidneys, the left rib here. Turning the heart to face upward. Inhale and come up. Paravata Janu. Donna. Intense. We'll bring the left leg out, so both legs are out wide. Try to get the space between the knees wider. Good. And then bring your right leg into a bent position. Left palm against the inside of the left leg. Reach your right arm out and then reach it behind you. We reach behind as far as we can, as though you could hold the clothing near your left hip, even your left hip or your left thigh, taking hold there somehow. And turning the ribs and drawing the shoulder blades down and looking back over the right shoulder. And then we're going to begin to travel the left hand along the leg a little. But be aware in the effort of doing that, or the focus of the hand moving towards the foot, we let the heart fall forward. So roll the torso so the heart is shining upwards. Oh, yes. And you might be able to bend your elbow a little bit more. Your left elbow. We're going to release the right arm now and take the bicep by the right ear, right bicep by the ear, and opening the heart towards the ceiling, shining upwards to the sky. Good morning. Good evening if you're watching a recorded class. Oh. Good. And then we'll bring both legs out into that wide leg position. Press the back of your legs down again. Put your hands behind the line of your hip and lift the spine. Beautiful. All right, we're going to roll the spine or wave the spine forward and back. So we find our subtle and supple movement. Forward and back. Let's go with the breastbone reaching forward and the corresponding middle of the back reaching back. So you could reach forward to the horizons, back to the horizon. And then there's another direction. It doesn't seem possible. Find your forward movement then. As far forward as the torso will travel, accommodating your knees, of course, and your hips, but also paying attention to the shape of the spine. Try to embed the bones of the spine forward. Finding the flow of your breath. Good, and then releasing. And we're going to lay down now. And this time inside edges of the feet and knees together, legs bent. Lift your feet off the floor. We're going to use the core awareness here and lift the hips and shift them a little bit to the right, and then knees go to the left. And we're not going to touch the knees down to the floor. You can if you need to, of course, but we're going to look over the right shoulder and just hover the knees and the feet off the floor here and try to let the breath flow. Neck relax. We're using our core awareness, but letting the rest of the body be relaxed. Good. And with that core strength, awareness, strength comes from awareness. Lift the legs and swap your hips to the left side and then knees to the right side. And you try to hover if you can. Rest, of course, if you need to. Turn your face to the left side. So hovering the leg and noticing where you can be strong in the core of your body, but seeing if you can be relaxed in your upper. And again, to the first side. Hips go right, knees go left. So put that effort into really using the core, but not the neck. Feeling the flow of your breath. Beautiful, energetic life force in your body. Good. And then back up to center. And last side. Oh. Hmm. Neck. And then back up to center. Hug your knees into your chest. Rocking a little from side to side. Okay, now you choose. We can either do a little preparation for shoulder stand, which we're going to kick the legs up and put the hands underneath the pelvis, or just go with your lifting the spine up and down off the floor. So one of those two. So you might be here, feet on the floor, legs parallel, lifting the spine up and down, or just kicking the legs a little bit overhead. I haven't got a straight line at the front of the body here. I'm just taking a relaxed approach. So a little bit of a stretch for the neck, but not overdoing anything. Being kind and focused on myself. I invite you to do the same thing for yourself. Neck relax. A little bit of a stretch for the upper back. Okay, shoulder stand people, lower down. Try not to thump down. Try to roll bone by bone. A little bit hard to do that. All right, and then we're all going to have the feet back on the floor, hip width, legs bent, and just one more little roll up, bone by bone. Neck roll. And rolling back. Beautiful. Hug your knees in and rock a little bit inside. Feeling the weight of the body support. Feeling the flow of your breath. And if you would like to stay for the relaxation, another 10 minutes practice, bring your legs out to straight. If you need to finish your practice, roll to your right side and come up to sitting. Namaste to you. And thank you. And people staying for Shavasana, legs are out straight. And if you have any tightness in your lower back, using a blanket under the thigh, it's a really nice way of relieving that tension effectively, that kind of thing. Maybe your anatomy is such that it feels like you've got to squash the back of your neck a bit to reach your head onto the floor. And if that's the case, use a blanket under your head, just a little bit of support so that the front and the back of your neck feel even in length. It's worth finding the support that really suits your body. Making sure your lower back feels as long as it can, your neck as long as it can, that you're centered on the back of the head. There's a feeling of even weight distribution from side to side. Getting rid of those last wriggles now. Feel the weight of your feet and your legs laying still and supported. Any sensation there. Feel the weight of the pelvis, the hips, the belly, pelvic floor, the buttock, and the sacrum. Supported. Feel now the lower back and the middle back. The space between the shoulder blades. And the back of the ribs. Feel the side of the ribs and the front ribs and the movement of the breath, even though you're laying still. Feel your shoulders now. No more work to do. Shoulder blade, upper arm and elbows, and forearm, wrist, palm, thumb, and finger. the back of your neck, your throat, base of your skull and your scalp, forehead, around your eyebrows and between them, around your eyes, and feel your eyes rest into the back of the socket, around your nose, and your mouth, your lips and tongue. And just now, no need for your tongue to press the roof of your mouth or your teeth. Feel the sensation of your jaw. Notice if there's any tension that could still be let go of. Feeling your ears as they receive vibration. No need to make sense of that vibration. Aware of the flow of breath in your body, laying still. And even though you are still feeling the flow of life forward, prana, both feeling the flow within your own body and feeling that you are part of the flow. Gently wriggling your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet, your arms and your legs. Feeling the flow of movement as you roll to your right side. Laying there for a moment. When you're ready, come up and have a seat. Bring your hands in front of your heart. And take the feeling of the practice with you. Namaste.